Hello again. In this video we're going to be talking about the calendar that is available for you to use embedded into your website. This is a plugin that we added here at the Commission so that everybody had an online calendar. It doesn't do everything. It is a basic calendar, but it will do pretty much anything you need it to do in most circumstances, and there's some tips and tricks to using it, and so I just want to give you a tour and talk to you about those things. So the first thing we're going to take a look at here is we're on the Training Video website, and I'm going to go ahead and click on Calendar. Calendar is a page. It is created by a plugin that I have installed, a calendar plugin. I'll show you that in a little bit. And it defaults to kind of a month sort of view. I do want to point out that there's this kind of overlapping problem here in my example here. I haven't been able to figure that one out, so let's just ignore that. But probably what this is pointing out that not all themes will work as well as you might hope. So something to consider, and you'll want to watch the video about installing and choosing a theme for more details on that. So it kind of highlights what today is. It puts the weekend in red. We have a next and a previous month here available to us. And some of this we'll be able to customize, and we'll look at the settings in just a moment. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is switch over to our dashboard and show you how that page is actually created. It is one of those pages, so I'm going to click here on the Pages menu. And once that loads up, you'll see that we've got a couple pages here, one of which is Calendar. So I'm going to go ahead and click Edit. And what you'll see here is if you have looked at the video about the contact pages, this will be very similar. In this case, we have some kind of special code that's put in there with the braces and the word calendar in all uppercase. This is what actually calls the plugin and creates that calendar on the page. You are welcome to add content above and below this code if you would like to. If you want to add a little more information to the page, that is fine. Just need to tell you that if you remove or change any of this, your calendar will break, will disappear, and won't work. So you need to keep this bit of code somewhere on the page to make the calendar show up. All right, so where do we actually work with the calendar? Well, if you look to our menu over on the left here, down at the bottom, I have the Calendar menu. And so I'll go ahead and click on that and bring up the Add Event and Manage Events page. Now, you'll also notice under Calendar, there's a Manage Categories and Calendar Options. I'll talk about each of those in just a moment. But first thing I want to do is just talk about how to add events. So very simple thing here. I'm going to go ahead and let's add an event for let's say we're going to show a movie at the library, so we're going to call this movie night, and I can put in a description here, come see a popular movie. Obviously, you'll probably want to write something a little better than that as a description. I'm going to leave the categories general for right now. We'll get to categories in a few moments. Let's now take a look at event link. Notice this does say optional. If you have a URL for another web page that has additional details regarding this event, you can link to it here. This could be a blog post. This could be another page in your site. This could be the web page of, say, you're having a book signing by a particular author. That author has their own website. You can link to that website. You don't have to put anything here, but you can link to any other page you want. Okay, so then we're going to pick a start and an end date. Let's just say this is going to go ahead and happen tomorrow on January 25th. And then at what time? And again, this is in 24-hour clocks. You have to do a little math here. Let's say it's going to be at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so that would be 1600. Okay, and this event is not going to repeat, so we're going to go ahead and leave this repeats for 0 and none. We'll come back and we'll do another one that does repeating. Go ahead and click Save. And then what you will see here is we now have a new event listed under Manage Events. If I want to delete that event, I have a delete up link here. And if I want to edit that event, I have the edit link here, which will take us back to a page kind of like what we had for Add Event, allowing us to change and resave the information. So now that I've got that event in there, I'm going to go ahead and switch back to my calendar and do a refresh. And you will see that now on the 25th we have movie night. And what's kind of cool about this calendar is if I hover over this, you'll see a little more information, such as the title, the time, and then the description that we have here. And if I kind of go off of that, then that disappears. Okay? So that's kind of the basic thing for that. Now, let's do another event and show you kind of a little tip or a trick about this. Let's go ahead and say Stephen King book signing. Okay, little longer. And he will only Sign one book per person. Okay. Link. Let's go ahead and link to stephenking.com. Okay. Probably want to put a www in there. And this is going to be on Friday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's obviously not going to repeat. We're only going to get this once, so I go ahead and click Save. And you'll now see I have a new item here. If I go back to my calendar and refresh, you'll see that pop up on Friday. But now notice what is happening here. Because of the size of the calendar, this box is getting longer. The more things you put into a particular day on the calendar, it will start to stretch those boxes out. So that's just something you want to kind of keep in mind as kind of a tip. The other thing is this title is kind of long for the calendar, and here's what I mean. If I hover over this, notice what had happened with Stephen King book signing. It has stretched to 2 lines, and because of the way this works, that has now overlapped the time. I can't really read that in this box. Okay, that's kind of a little glitch with this calendar system. As I mentioned, it's not perfect. So to fix this, what I'm going to go back and do here is I'm going to go ahead and edit this item. And in this case, I'm just going to keep it short. Let's just keep it down to just Stephen King. Click Save. Go back to my calendar. Refresh my calendar. And you will see here now it works a little better. So you want to try to keep those titles kind of short to make them work. You can always put things in the description field. And as you'll notice here, if you look to the bottom left-hand corner of my browser, because I put in that stephenking.com hyperlink, if I was to actually click on this event, it will take me to stephenking.com. Okay. Maybe not the best thing to do in this example. You might want to link to maybe a blog post saying, here's coming, here are the rules, here's how we're going to handle the book signings, all of that sort of information. Okay, now let's do one more, and let's make this one a little more complicated here. Let's go ahead and put in story time. Okay, for toddlers, ages 2 to 5. Okay, and we're not going to have a link. And let's say now, however, this is going to be every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Okay. So what we want to do is we want it to repeat every 1 week. Okay? So go ahead and click Save. And that's now listed here as story time. It's weekly, repeats 1 time. Okay? Well, let's see if I actually did this right, because that seems right, but I'm not 100% sure. So let's go ahead and refresh. Okay? And I've got my story time on Thursday the 6th and Thursday the 13th, but I only told it to repeat once. Okay, so I need to do this a little more here. Take this back to edit. And let's run this for 52 weeks. Okay, we can always create an exception later, but we'll go ahead and click Save here now. Okay, and if I go back and reload my calendar, now it'll be on every every Thursday for 52 weeks. If I change that to a 0, that would mean forever. Just keep repeating it weekly forever. Okay? This one's a little hard. I found some people really kind of grasp the repeating really easily and quickly. Other people have to work at it a little bit, play around with the repeats, and see how it goes. You'll get the hang of it eventually. Okay, I'm going to add one more thing here, and we're going to call this Manga Night, or Manga Event, say for teens. Bring your favorite manga to, excuse me. Okay. And no link, and let's put this on Wednesday at 8 o'clock at night. Oops. Okay, we'll go ahead and we'll click Save. Okay, so we've got one more event in here. Scroll down, we'll see here's our manga event. I go back to our calendar and refresh. You'll see that here's our manga event for teens. Okay, so now we've got some things that are maybe family related. We've got some kids related things. We've got some teen related things. So let's think about categories for a moment, and we'll come back around to that and deal with those categories. Okay, the next thing I want to look at is calendar options. Okay. got some things here that you can change, some of which I'm going to tell you not to futz with at all. Okay, the first one is choose the lowest user group that may manage events. By default, that's contributor. You can say anything, for example, of you must be at least an editor or even an administrator of your site to be able to add or edit any event. I would refer you to the video on user roles and creating new users in your account to talk about the difference. But just for discussion's sake here, let's go ahead and say nobody, unless you're an editor or above, can actually manage events. Okay? Do you want to display the author name on an event? So let's say you have more than one editor on your website. Would you like on the event it to display who created it? Did you create it or did Sally create it? Okay? Probably not really relevant, so I would actually suggest that you leave this at no. Okay? Display a jump box for changing month and year quickly. Okay? Let's take a look at this one. Right now, if I remind you, going back to our calendar, the top looks like this. We have previous and next, and then January 2011 up here in the top center. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and change this to yes. Click Save. Okay. And then go back to our calendar and refresh. And what this is going to do is this is going to allow us to actually quickly jump to another month and to another year. So if I actually want to see, June of 2011, instead of clicking next 5 times, I can just change this and click go, and it will take me up to June 2011, and notice that our story time has continued through. Okay, this is completely optional. I generally leave this off. The chances that somebody you know might actually need to jump ahead several months is probably slim, but that's just my opinion. Completely leave it up to you if you want to turn that on. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back off again. Okay. Then we have display today's events and display upcoming events, and these can be yes or no, and then for upcoming events you can talk about up to X number of days in the future. This has to do with the calendar widget, to which I would refer you to the widgets training video. But by turning this on, you get widgets where you can put boxes into your sidebar that display any events automatically listing today and or any events up to 7 days in the future or 10 days or 3 days, depending on what you change this number to. Okay? A lot of libraries have done this so that instead of having to go to the calendar to see what's going on a particular day, like today, they just add the widget to one of their sidebars that says, here are the events that are going on today that are being pulled from the calendar. Okay? So you can turn these off if you want. Even if you leave them on, that just gives you the availability to use those widgets. You don't have to. Okay? Then the last one here is enable event categories. By default, this is no. I'm going to go ahead and change this to yes so that you can see what we can do with categories in just a moment. Last but not least here, or maybe but least, is configure the style sheets for calendar. If you know cascading style sheet code or CSS, you can actually edit this to change the look and feel of your calendar. You can change its colors, its size. Theoretically, I would edit some piece of code in here to get rid of that overlapping problem that I have in my theme. Really, I suggest you only play around in this box if you really know what you're doing, because if you do screw up this code, I hate to ever say this, but it is true. If you do screw up this code, you could completely break your calendar and not make it show up at all. Okay, so keep in mind it's available there to you, but I don't recommend you play with it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click Save now that I've turned on event categories and I've turned that jump list back off again, and that has saved my settings. And just to show that things work, I'm going to go ahead and refresh my calendar, and that will get rid of my jump box up at the top. Once it loads. Okay, let's try refreshing again here. This is the joy of recording things live. Okay, well, we're going to let that run, and I'm going to continue working on in the background here while we can. Let's go ahead and talk about manage categories. If you remember back on the manage calendar page, when we added a new item, we had the ability of creating categories. By default, you will only have a general category available to you. Okay? What you can do is you can add additional categories and color code them if you want. And what I'm going to do here real quick is I'm going to delete these just to make sure I show you how to do it from scratch. So go ahead and delete. Go ahead and delete that one. Okay, so this is what you'll see when you first get to manage categories. I want to add a new category called teen, okay, and then I want to give it a color. Now, here's the catch. It's this wonderful little thing that says hex format. Unfortunately, what generally won't work is just typing in red or green or blue. You actually need what's called the hex code for the color. So, how do you find those? Well, I've kind of got that loaded up here. I've gone to Google and I've typed hex color codes, and I've got a whole bunch of results here. I have some graphics I can use, things like that. I'm going to use this one right here called hex color codes. I'm going to click on that. And what this is going to do is this is going to load up a chart for me and give me the different colors. Now, I'm going to warn you, you want to stick to lighter colors. Okay, I promise. So let's say here I'm going to use this aqua. So I'm going to copy the letters and numbers and the pound sign. Copy that. Go back here and I'm going to paste that in here. Click Save. Okay. And then I'm going to create another one called Kids. And I'm going to pick another color, but in this case I'm going to kind of go with this, let's see here, this Nerf green. I think that sounds like fun, so we'll go ahead and pick Nerf green. We'll copy that code, paste that in here. Now, there are literally millions of codes to pick from, so you might want to do a little searching to find just the right colors. But I'm going to go ahead and do these. I'm going to click Save. Okay, and so now we've got General, Teen, and Kids. Okay, we've created those categories. Now I'm going to go back to Manage Calendar. Scroll on down here, and I'm now going to categorize my choices here. So the first one is Stephen King, and actually I'm going to leave that as general. Okay. And then let's see, manga event, that's teens. So let's go ahead and click edit there and change this to teens. Click Save. Okay, and you notice the colors changed here. Movie night, we'll leave that as general. Story time, we'll change that to kids. Click Save. Okay. Now we've categorized these items, and if I go back to my calendar, scroll on down a bit here, and notice because I turned on those colors, okay, we've got that one there. They're all general, but now I've categorized some of them as kids and teens, and so we have the different colors. Now, you can see this works. May not be completely visually appealing. This is also why I want to recommend you stick to lighter colors. Because it will be black text on that color. Okay, so if you pick like a dark purple, chances are black text on a dark purple is not going to be very readable. Okay, some people have also complained that the color highlighting here really is it's just highlighting the words. It doesn't create a nice colored box. Doesn't color the whole day. That sort of thing. So personally, I don't use the categories. Okay, but they are available to you, and I wanted to show you how to use them. Let's say you try it out, you just decide, no, this doesn't look very good, I want to turn that off, people are getting confused by it. All we need is go back to Calendar Options, change the Enable Categories to No, click Save, and then if we look at Manage Calendar, you will notice that things are still categorized and the color codes are being used here in the back end, but if I refresh my calendar with the colors turned off, your patrons don't see the colors. Okay? So there's kind of a compromise. You can use the colors to organize your things and categorize them in the back end, but leave them plain displaying here for your patrons. So that's the calendar. That's the basics of calendar. If you've got any questions or comments, please, as always, leave a comment in the comment field for this blog post. Let me know what you think, and let me know if you have any other questions. And thanks for watching.